Hello again, everybody. Welcome in on what is, for the moment, a cloudy Tuesday. Of course, the storm of the century is coming in, and from what we know, they're now calling for 2 to 4 inches of snow, beginning, it looks like, somewhere in the 8 to 9 p.m. range, and who knows what's going to happen. Up north, up towards Springfield, they're looking at more like about 6 inches of snow. So this thing could get pretty hairy, but only time will tell. We welcome all of you in. We are not on radio yet because Vanderbilt and Air Force are playing baseball. They're freezing their butts off, and it's 2-2 in the bottom of the sixth inning out at Hawkins Field. So I guess that I'm allowed at this point to bring Kelly Holcomb up and see what's on his mind. Kelly, how are you?
I'm great, George. I don't know what's on my mind. I have no clue. I'm mindless right now.
Is that so?
That's the way life is for me most of the day.
This is not the first time this has happened, is it?
No, it is not. It's not the first time I've seen snowfall either. Good gracious. We don't have to go get bread, milk, and eggs and just clean. Like, it's going to be fine. It's going to be fine.
Well, now,
even in Springfield, where it's 6 inches, it's
well,
going to
now,
be fine.
Hold on a second, because the flip side of this is that over the next couple of days, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, bitterly cold. So it's not going to go away.
Yeah, I don't like that. I can't stand the bitter cold anymore.
Yeah, well, get ready because it be here.
Yeah, I agree.
It be here. I'm sitting here watching the Weather Channel. We're at our secondary studio today. Billy's at his house. I'm at mine, and I've got the TV on. And Kansas City, good Lord, they have zero visibility. They also 2 weeks ago had zero defense.
That's pretty cool. Hey, George, you know you're old when you're sitting around watching the Weather Channel.
Yeah, it's not been all day, but this gives me the ability to figure out. Well, no, this gives me the ability to educate and tell everybody when it's supposed to get here. And I really get into it.
I hope Jim Cantori I hope he gets on your front porch. Maybe he can ask you what's going on.
I'm sure he'll be on Broadway. We have a winter storm warning, which is different than a winter storm watch. The warning, much more serious.
Warning is just like a tornado. If you hear a tornado warning, it's imminent.
Tornado
watch means conditions are likely.
Right. In the tornado thing, I would say duck.
Yeah. The tornado deal, I mean, I get my wife because I like going out on the front porch and looking at stuff, and there'll be a tornado, and I'm like, honey, it's not coming this way. And she goes, I was sitting up last year just watching the TV, and I'm watching where it was and where it's going and just listening to stuff. And she said, will you please come downstairs? It's scaring me. And I'm like, oh my gosh, honey. Yes, I will.
That's wonderful. Billy, how are you today?
I'm good. What's next in the weather class? What's the next section here? I mean, I feel like
you got to find out about cirrus clouds and nimbus clouds and all those kind of clouds. So maybe George can maybe he can educate us at some point.
We're not getting into any cumulus clouds. I've had enough of them to last
cumulus clouds.
Yeah, to last a lifetime. Yeah, thank you. Yes, Billy, do you have an update of any substance whatsoever?
We've got a loaded update today.
Loaded?
Loaded.
Yes.
It's
loaded.
It's loaded.
Kelly and I'll be the decision makers on that.
That's right.
Well, it's brought to you by Lori Burnett Leland. You can find her online at mortgageladyyusa.com or give her a call, 615-969-4350. We've got some important basketball games tonight. Lipscomb is at Eastern Kentucky tonight on the men's side at 6 o'clock. The Bisons are tied for first in the ASUN, and EKU is right behind them. right there in the standings behind them. That'll be a tough game tonight for the Bisons, but if they get it, and right now they're a 13 seed. They're projected to win the A-Sun. That's Lenardi picking them to win. So again, take that with a grain of salt. They got to win the tournament, but still, there's a lot of people that think Lipscomb can win that. Now, there's been years where they haven't, where they maybe should have. Like I think last year might have been one of them, but big one for the Bisons tonight.
Oh, I think they've got a heck of a shot. I saw them last Thursday for the first time all year, and actually caught Kelly's daughter scoring. By the way, the Weather Channel is now showing Broadway. That's very special.
That's nice. That's wonderful.
Yeah, it really is. Cantori's probably down there somewhere.
He's not working, though. I guarantee you that.
Probably not. Probably not right now, no.
Also tonight, Oklahoma at number 2, Florida at 6 o'clock on ESPN2. Number 7, Texas A&M at number 21, Mississippi State. That's a big one at 6 o'clock on SEC Network. And then the biggest of them all, South Carolina at LSU. 8 o'clock, 2 SEC wins combined between those two tonight. So I might watch that just to.
So the winner will get a second conference victory.
Yes. No. LSU has 2. South Carolina doesn't have any.
Oh,
that's what I was going to say. I think it's 0 for South Carolina.
Oh, that's right. Okay.
Yeah.
Moving on.
So a little bracketology update. Vandy is in the last 4 buys section. So that's not the last 4 in. That's the last 4 teams that avoid Dayton. They're one of those. They're an 11 seed right now. According to Joe Lenardi, Tennessee is a 2 seed. 13 SEC teams he's got making it. It's going to be really interesting to see how many SEC teams get in. We'll see what happens tonight. We got some baseball notes, George. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. and Toronto have failed to come to terms on a contract extension by last night's deadline. He'll hit free agency in November. Apparently, they made some very aggressive offers that didn't make Guerrero budge at all.
No, I think Vlad sort of made the decision. The Blue Jays have gone after 3 or 4 different really high-profile free agents that have offered some serious bucks, and nobody has taken them up on it. And I think Vlad, I don't know this, but I kind of think Vlad said, well, you know what? Nobody wants to play here. I'm out of here.
Also, Justin Turner is headed to the Cubs after agreeing to a 1-year, $6 million deal. He split time last year in Toronto and Seattle. So nice little pickup there for the Cubs. And some announcer news. Joe Buck will be calling the opening day game on ESPN between the Brewers and the Yankees. That is March 27th. He hasn't called a baseball game since 2021. But, of course, now he's at ESPN. He's been doing Monday Night Football, and he'll be in the booth with former Yankees manager Joe Girardi for that game. So it'll be good to hear Joe Buck back in the booth. Also in college football, Cam Ward has made some comments. He hasn't decided. I know you'll like this, Kelly. He hasn't decided if he'll throw at the Combine next week. But he knows.
Whoop-de-doo.
Who cares?
He knows he'll answer any team personnel who ask if he quit on Miami during the Pop-Tarts Bowl. He said, in quote, "You're either going to draft me or not. If you don't draft me, that's your fault. You've got to remember you're the same team that's got to play me for the rest of my career, and I'll remember that." He also recently said the decision to not play in the second half of the bowl game was predetermined by him and the coaching staff. Cam Ward's confident.
He's confident, but he needs to be quiet and shut his mouth and just go play football. Good. When you start running your mouth like that, it usually does not turn out good for you.
To quote my buddy Darren McFarland, quiet, please.
Jordan Spieth.
Teeing off, Jordan Spieth.
Oh, gosh. Also in the NFL, David Shaw has joined the Lions staff as their passing game coordinator, his first formal coaching job since leaving Stanford in 2022. Hasn't coached in the NFL since 2005. So
it's a pretty good move by Dan Campbell. I like that.
Okay, but can I ask a smart aleck question?
Yeah,
if you're the passing game coordinator, does that mean that on running plays you just turn your back on it and say, I don't give a damn, it's not my responsibility?
Well, whoever's the offensive coordinator will say, he'll get suggestions and he say, I'm thinking about a pass here. What would you call, David? What are you thinking? That's where we go. I don't know, man. That's a tough deal. I mean, we got run game coordinators and pass game coordinators, and now we got pass game coordinators that are going to be the offensive coordinator, and he's got a run game coach he's got to go through. What are you thinking here for the run? What are you liking? I don't know. I don't know how you do that.
Gets a little
but you know what? When you get paid all this, you do what Tom Moore said, just shut your mouth, son, and call the play.
Also,
yesterday, hey guys, he called me yesterday. That was great. I got some comic relief for a few minutes.
What was the best thing he said?
He was telling me that he said, I got one of your former middle guys back here, and he had Mike Caldwell. Mike Caldwell was at Jacksonville. He got fired, and then he went out to L.A. and was the I think he was assistant head coach and a linebacker coach. And I forgot that Antonio Pierce got let go. And I said, well, so he left those guys, and he said, no, he didn't leave them. They left him. Like, that's messed up, Tom.
Also,
messed up.
This just in. The Panthers are signing Andy Dalton to a new 2-year, $8 million deal. So Dalton will be back in Carolina. You would guess to back up Bryce Young.
Does he have?
They're not totally sold.
Yeah.
Does he have like an AARP card?
Probably.
It's probably close.
He's got to be 37, 38 now.
I don't know. I mean, he's getting up there.
Yeah.
I was 35, George. Were you saying I was an AAP card guy? AARP guy? I mean, I was getting up there too. I could have made it 2 or 3 more years.
It all depends.
I could have made it to the Aaron Rodgers years if I'd have just shut my mouth and went with the system.
Also, other quarterback news: the Steelers are reportedly interested in Daniel Jones for Arthur Smith's offense, and that's not good for Russell Wilson, right? His future up in the air in Pittsburgh, so it's nothing for sure yet. But keep an eye on Daniel.
Might not be good, Billy, for Aaron Rodgers. That's been the place he's been the most rumored.
Oh, of course, has he really?
Yeah, of course. I look for him to go into that cave or whatever, the dark room, before he makes a decision as to whether he wants to play. I'm not sure that he's got any takers.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Also, college football, West Virginia quarterback great Pat White has returned to Morgantown as an assistant quarterback coach. Played under Rich Rod in his first stint at West Virginia. It's an interesting move. I don't know what Pat White's been up to, but
Billy, I've got to call a violation on that story.
What?
That story got out last week.
Well, I mean, I saw it on The Athletic. It was in their top. Latest 8 stories.
Yeah, if it gets in there, then I mean,
God forbid.
Absolutely.
The violation of the Geneva Convention. Also, high school news here locally. My Father Ryan High School has hired former LSU and Titans quarterback Zach Mettenberger as their next football coach. He was promoted from offensive coordinator to replace Brian Rector, and I think that's a great hire. Now, he's young. He's a young guy still. He's in his second stint at Father Ryan. He previously coached there in 2021, spent 2 years as an analyst for Nick Saban in Alabama in 2022 and 2023. And he's one of 8 former Titans players who are coaching high school football in Nashville. George, here's to Mettenberger at Father Ryan being as good as Bentley at BGA.
Yes. So let me ask a question. Why did it take Father Ryan so long?
I don't know. I've been asking myself the same question.
Was this an international search?
Was he their first choice, Billy? Or
Did
was
they
he
go
their
to-
eighth or ninth choice?
Did they go to the Vatican for approval? What took so damn long?
They went through their interview process. They fully vetted every option.
Good
And they
Did they have somebody?
back
Did they
to
have
Mettenberger.
somebody help them with the hiring process? Like everybody else hires outdoor sources. Like what are we, what are we doing? Outside sources.
Search firm.
Yeah, the search firms. Did y'all hire a search
Right.
firm, Billy? And were you part of that? And did you give any money for that? Which I'm saying no.
I was not a part of the search firm, but I will be giving to Father Ryan now that Zach Mettenberger.
Oh, you will?
I'm going to help Father Ryan become a winner.
So Mettenberger was the guy that has put you over the edge.
I'm excited. I think he's the right guy for the job.
Late word from Father Ryan that this commitment of Billy's frees them up to buy an outdoor porta potty.
Also, lastly, Duke's Cooper Flagg says he wants to return to Duke next season. I don't know what this is about. According to Front Office Sports on Twitter, the projected number 1 overall pick could be passing up $400 million. I don't know what that's about.
Lord. Wow. That is some story if it's true.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a major upset.
Money. He's making money where he's at, but good, $400 million.
Whew.
That's ridiculous. That's what I got.
I'd say you could go get your degree in the off season.
Yes.
Or with $400 million, you could probably buy one.
Yeah, I mean, you could be yeah, absolutely. You can buy one, go on the New Hampshire, Southern New Hampshire, or whatever they do on the TV, and you can get you one for a nice little $5,000. Go ahead, be done with it.
Buy one, get one free. Okay, are we done?
Yes.
Billy, I thought it was an overrated update.
That was a good update.
The loadedness. Hey, it was good until George called you out, Billy, and a story that's been 8 weeks ago. We can't use that. We can't do that.
I'm sure you knew it's been out there, Kelly.
I did know.
I
did know it's been out there.
Oh,
okay, after the break, you're welcome. After the break, Tony Basilio will join us from Knoxville. Got a lot of stuff to yap with him about, so stick around. Eventually, we'll be on radio. Billy, what is that score as they freeze their butt off?
Vandy's up 3-2 in the 7th as we speak.
Okay, so I'm not going to say this is 94.9 The Fan, but I will tell you that eventually it will be.
New year, new priorities. Family and safety come first. If a car or truck accident disrupts your life, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, experienced, and ready to fight for you. Call 615-242-9000. Happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun. Venture Express has been helping people in this area for more than 40 years. They're headquartered in Murfreesboro with over 30 years of dedicated fleets involving production, manufacturing, and corrugated experiences. They're an asset-based company with over 700 tractors, 4,000 trailers, and 800 drivers. If you need their help, dial them up 615-793-9500 or log on to ventureexpress.com.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Okay, by the looks of things, we are back. And Billy, I'm not able to see on my computer whether Tony is ready, not ready.
We got him by phone.
We've got him by phone. Wow, does that mean he's the traveling man today? Tony Basilio, sports talk show host extraordinaire, Knoxville, Tennessee, joining us. Tony, how are you?
Doing great today, George. How you doing, buddy?
Good. Where are you?
I'm in Knoxville. I was just, today's our last day till it turns into Siberia here. So I went and sat in the park and played a little music, George, I'm sorry about that.
So do people freak out in Knoxville over potential snow the way they do here?
I mean, yes. In a word, yes.
I mean, they all rush out to the grocery store. Kelly, what are the things that they need to buy?
They got to buy milk, bread, eggs. I don't know. I mean, it's a staple of the American diet, but they buy it out. It's going to be there. Like, why do we get upset about it? You can drive in the snow. Just take your time. Watch the other person. But people down here don't understand that.
And you do, of course.
I do, absolutely.
Yeah.
I grew up, and then I went and I played up north for 13 years. Get out in it. It's not going to hurt you.
Because you got so much snow in Fayetteville, Tennessee.
You got brain donor.
No.
Oh my gosh, Kelly will tell people to get out in the snow.
Yeah, get out in the snow, enjoy it. Like when you live in it up north, you know, I was telling somebody the other day. Now I know this is kind of crazy for y'all, but when I lived in Buffalo, me and my son were outside and we had a chain link fence and we could walk over that chain link fence because the snow drift was so high. It's just the way it is, man. Let's go.
So he walked 6 miles to practice each way.
I didn't go. No, I didn't do that. I've never said that.
See, I mean, all I know, the Weather Channel told me to stay in.
And you were a smart man to stay in. Listen, it snows and people don't listen. I don't know how to drive in it anymore. And I grew up in that stuff. I'm not sure I ever knew how to drive in it, but I don't leave. That's why today I just got outside because I knew the next couple of days it's going to be nasty. And I'm just like, you know what? And today, to be honest with you guys, I sat outside and played music in 43-degree weather with the wind blowing on me like 10 to 15 miles an hour. It's not exactly what you call a nice day here, but, you know, it beats the alternative, which is sitting in the studio right now and staring at Kelly. Kelly, how's your neck doing, by the way? Are you
Wow. You're gonna play that game today, huh? That's cool. That's cool, Tony. Yeah, my neck is better, man. I'm good.
For you, man.
I've had a tough week, man, but I'm getting out of it. I'm coming through it.
Good, man. Good.
Thanks. I appreciate it. Thank you for the concern. I know you thought about it all week. Thank you.
I asked Billy's number the other day so I could call you. I just never got it from him.
Well, I got your number, and you got my number too, because I sent you a text the other night, you clown, about the Philadelphia Eagles, which you told me, and I told you last week. You said was going to lose the game, and I said, hey, I was almost to the point of booking it like George does that Philly will win this game. I told you when the first play was there, Philly will win tonight.
I didn't recognize your number.
Kelly, on the neck situation, before we move on to the important things, are you on drugs right now?
No comment.
Okay, I got it.
Not on drugs, you know.
So, Tony, what was the reaction up in Knoxville to what went on Saturday? Because the comeback, man, Tennessee shot lights out in the second half.
I was telling Billy off the air, what happened was Rick Barnes got madder at Zakai Ziegler and said things to him that he's never said to him since he's been here. And basically told him at the end of the first half, go sit down. You're done. And if you're going to play like that in the second half, I'm going to yank you out immediately. And I'm not going to watch you sulk around today. We're not going to watch it. And he made CC so mad that he didn't even look at him at halftime. I was told by somebody internally, he wouldn't even look at him at halftime. And then during the second half, he usually goes out there and tells Barnes kind of what's going on the floor. He didn't say a word to him, George, the entire second half. And he didn't say a word to a teammate. The whole exchange with throwing the ball at the Vandy forward there around midcourt, ZZ was like literally Barnes lit him on fire is what happened. And he 22 points. I mean, he went crazy in the second half. And Tennessee has an off switch and they have an on switch. And Vandy saw both of them over the weekend. Tennessee, for a team that's tracking to be a 2 seed or maybe a 1 seed if it all goes well, really does, George, have a weird deal where they can fall asleep during games. And that's not a good trait. And when I say fall asleep, I mean fall asleep on both ends of the floor, because the way they played against Vanderbilt in that first half, from a Rick Barnes level that you used to around here, was a pretty disgusting and deplorable effort, for lack of a better word. Vanderbilt just played harder, and I see why this Byington guy is so well regarded, and why Vandy's going to have to pay to keep him, George, because he's going to get involved with some, well, not get involved, but he's going to have other opportunities before this thing's over. Virginia's a spot to watch him. They'll come after him. Indiana might come after him, talking to some different people. So this guy is this guy's a heck of a young coach. That's a very good hire Vanderbilt made.
This is Tony, it feels to me like this is a really critical 30 days. By Vanderbilt standards, this has been a golden year of athletics. And, you know, they've had all kinds of good things happen. They win a bowl game in football. They beat Alabama. The basketball's got people talking. Memorial Gym's got a buzz to it again. And yet, if they were to lose him after a year, a lot of that good feeling, to me, goes out the window.
I'm telling you, this guy is coveted, and he's going to have opportunities. And just from people I talk to in that profession, see, Virginia likes him because he won a lot up there at James Madison, and that would make sense because they're like an hour and a half from each other. You know, that would make, plus you're in a soft Atlantic Coast Conference. And the guy runs really, really great stuff offensively, George. They're really fun to watch. So I can see why he's so coveted. You know, Indiana, for a multitude of reasons, including the fact that I was told that Kirk Cignetti is talking him up to the brass there, and Cignetti's right now wielding a pretty big stick, but he likes him from his days at James Madison. Imagine having those guys on James Madison's campus a couple years ago. No wonder they were winning so much.
Yeah.
So in those two sports. And, you know, I know from behind the scenes, I mean, Rick Barnes and those guys, they think the world of this dude. They really think he can really coach. So he's got people in that profession really paying attention to him.
You know, the other one that said very nice things about him was Bruce Pearl. I got a chance to talk to Bruce after the Auburn game. I'll go ahead and tell this. These guys have probably heard this story. When Pearl first got to Knoxville, you remember the tradition that he would wear, that the Tennessee coach will wear the orange coat when they play either Kentucky or Vandy.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So the first time Tennessee and Vandy play in Knoxville, Tennessee won that game by like 5 or 6. It was a hard-fought game. And Pearl motions to me to come up to the stage when he gets through with his press conference. So I go up there and he goes, I want your opinion. My wife says I got ripped off on this coat. What do you think? And I said, what did you pay for it? And he said, $1,200. And I said, first of all, Bruce, it's ugly. And secondly, I said, you got big time ripped off. It was funnier back then.
For that thing?
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
You know, there was such a fever around Bruce Pearl at that time that a bunch of fans would walk around in those coats, George, at home games.
So let me ask one more thing.
At Auburn, it is unbelievable what they did to Alabama over the weekend, and how, I mean, they're number 1 in the country right now, and it's really not close.
No, there's definitely now a divide between Auburn and, quote, the rest of the field. But
Yes.
But let me toss this one last Tennessee question at you, because it does appear that they have kind of an off switch and an on switch. When do you think that started?
You know, that's a great question, because it really has become a thing during conference play. And I think it's really indicative of how difficult the league is. If you think about it, was Vanderbilt able last year to push you and show your weaknesses? Probably not. And Vanderbilt's kind of a middle of the league team this year, but middle of this league means you can get into March and get to a Sweet 16 pretty easily, in my opinion. If I'm a Vanderbilt fan, I'm looking at my program going, hey, we shoot the ball well. We can beat most anybody. And that's just something that once we got to the new year and here in 2025 and the new calendar, this Tennessee team has become one that can go through fits and spells where they look great and where they look kind of unplugged. Both Kentucky games sort of come to mind. You know, this team is just, the thing that was troubling Saturday about that first half was the level of effort. That's the thing that was really odd about it.
Which is so un-Rick Barnes-like.
Yes.
Kelly, why don't you kind of give Tony your mental state right now? Because he's been very concerned about that in the weeks and months prior to this.
Well, let me just put this out there that I really don't care what Tony Basilio thinks about my mental state. Let's just throw that out there. Couldn't care less.
I asked about you the other day, and I told Billy that I wanted to call you and encourage you because I know how bad that is, man.
He did. I'm sorry I didn't get his number over to you, Kelly.
My God.
Oh, wait a minute.
That's on me. That's on me.
Man, I'm not.
Tony was concerned.
Thank
Tony,
you.
do you have your phone? Do you have your phone next to you right now?
I talked to my man Billy.
I know, but do you have your phone next to you right now? Because I can send you a text just like I did last week to give you my number because you have my number. You've texted me before.
Do that. Reach out to me. Do that, please.
Billy, why did you not do what you were asked to do?
I forgot. I was a little too busy.
I mean,
that's on me. That's on me.
We know Billy's track record. Billy is a Generation Xer, and he doesn't care. We all know his track record. You want him to go somewhere, he oversleeps. His alarm doesn't go. I mean, that's just Billy. We get it.
That's hard.
That's what you're going to be dealing with, Tony, if you hire him. That's what's going to happen.
On you on Friday, and I can tell you, it was in love, man.
That was fun.
Hey, so let me ask you this, and I'm going to ask some of the same questions I asked Taylor Barnett yesterday. But I always say that a team takes on the mentality of their coach, Rick Barnes, who I really love. He reminds me so much of Coach Donnelly, just by what you said about Zakai Ziegler. But they had to dig deep the other night. They were down 16. It seemed like every time they'd go on a run, then Vanderbilt would stretch the lead a little bit. So it takes kind of a mentally tough team like that. And I think Zakai Ziegler is the guy that kind of does that. And just talk about their mentality. I really enjoy watching it because they're never out of it and they always fight. I know this on and off switch you're talking about, but do they win that game if they're not Rick Barnes mentally tough?
No, and that's the crazy thing, right? Is how mentally tough do you have to be that out of a game, and then to just hit halftime and just boom. And the thing that really helped them the other day was that great crowd that was on hand, because that crowd was wanting to explode all day, and that crowd just came alive in that second half. And Barnes is such that he's an acquired taste, And you know this from playing for those old school guys. Those guys are not for everybody.
No.
Some people like you get it and want it. And some people want to, choke those guys out, or can't wait to get away from them. So, he's sort of an acquired taste. But when he got this job 10 years ago, one of the things they decided was, hey, we're going to really accent defense over what we did at Texas. We're going to go hard defensively. And Jim Schwartz at the time, or whatever that Schwartz guy's name is, I think that's his name. Anyway, I think that was the guy from the Titans. Schwartz at the time, who's now at East Carolina, decided that, or installed their defense. They're still using a lot of what was installed then. And this year, in terms of their pace of play, they're playing about as slow as they have under Barnes this year. But the other night, they sped Vanderbilt up in that second half. They played quicker offensively because they were behind. They had to create more possessions, and they just sort of let loose. And to me, that's the sign of a really, really tough team. And they've won in some buildings this year that shows you how mentally tough they are. Like, they went to Illinois and won. Nobody wins there, at least at that point. They went to Louisville before the league season began and won there. They should have won that Auburn game, guys. We talk about how good Auburn is. They had a last-second look at it, and Ziegler had a shot at it there at the end. I mean, these guys, they preach toughness. You'll like this, Kelly. So I found out behind the scenes before that last Kentucky game when they went up there and they didn't really defend well. Barnes gave him a bunch of time, gave him some time off and said, you guys know what to do. We want to come out fresh. And they came out kind of, what's the word? They weren't really engaged defensively like you want them to be. And my understanding is he's telling people around him, that's the last time I'll ever take it easy on them. I mean, this guy is so hardcore, Kelly.
I actually love it, man. And that's that's why a guy like Ziegler can play for him, because you look at him, he's like 5'8". And if you look at the way that things are now, I said it yesterday, but I don't know if he plays anywhere else, other than now there's guys that are like him, but Rick Barnes, I think Rick Barnes is kind of like Bill Belichick. He doesn't care what you look like. He just wants you to get it done. And that's why Ziegler he is the leader of that basketball team. You can understand that. I wonder if he would be able to do that somewhere else. I mean, he's at the right place at the right time.
There's no doubt that's true. And, another thing about Barnes that I like is he doesn't play with people. So back when the car kid left him, there's a member of the team whose kind of handler, entourage, however you want to put this, went to Barnes and said, hey, so-and-so needs assurances of playing time. I'm not going to say the kid's name, but Barnes said, look, no. He said, you get playing time and you earn playing time and you're not getting any extra money. And if you want, you guys can leave because I'm not going to do that. He just does not let himself get, or people push him out over his skis, which I appreciate. And the thing about Zizi is so well put because, you know, a lot of times when it goes well in college basketball, that point guard's got to be an extension of that head coach. Here you've got a point guard, it's only an extension of a head coach, but he's probably just as hardcore as Barnes is. I mean, Ziegler, his mother told me one time that she was looking for him after a game, and he was sitting there working out for 45 minutes after he just played 39 minutes in an SEC game. This guy's a nut. Which is how you do that at that size. That's how you do what he's doing at that size. Because I'm telling you guys, I don't know what they list him at. If that guy's 5'5", I'm 6'4", okay? I mean, he's tiny to be out there doing what he's doing.
Hey, my last question, Tony, is, and I hate to, I don't know if I want to bring this name up, but like the Tennessee girls the other day, the Tennessee women beat UConn for the first time since 2007. Kim Caldwell come over from Marshall. Have y'all found the replacement for the legendary Pat Summitt? I mean, we've had a couple of coaches, but like the Lady Vols, she started that so many years ago and she won national championships, and you know, she wasn't ready for the job. You watched the documentary on that, and then she kind of grew into the job. And I'm not saying that she's going to ever replace that, but like, do you feel, are the people in Knoxville happy about where they're at with Lady Vols basketball?
Well, it's wild. I had a guy today stop me in the park, and he said, "What about the ladies team?" And I said, "Yeah, it's amazing, isn't it?" And he said, "I've never really watched women's basketball till this year." We've gotten a lot of that because they're so fun to watch. You know, that pressure game they play. And, you know, in a sport where they're as loose with the ball as they are in women's basketball, it makes total sense to play that pace game. And I'll tell you something, you play for her, you better be in condition. Because, like, there's a couple players for the Lady Vols this year that were real big, like forward-type players. They don't even look the same. Like, they've lost, like, 35, 40 pounds. And that was in the off season when they decided to stay here, because when you play for her, you got to run up and down that floor. And I mean, run up and down that floor and then run up and down the floor. You have to be in condition enough to shoot a trail three, to, you know, play in transition, be able to defend in transition. And her kids really play hard for her. You know, they haven't closed out every game, but the thing that's remarkable about her and what these kids have done this year is there were people in that sport that were saying, is this the year that the Lady Vols streak of making the NCAA tournament comes to an end? And I got to tell you, before the season started, I would have thought, you know, there's a pretty good chance of that, till I watched them play and I watched her and I thought, there's no way that's going to happen to that team. In fact, they had the first reveal with the women's deal like they do with the men, and the Lady Vols were a 4 seed, which is just a remarkable job in your first year.
Yeah.
And the crowds had really dwindled in recent years, and it's sort of like the Byington guy down there. The people here have come back and have bought back in, and she's recruited really well. She's got a very good class coming in next year. And, man, she's just fun. She's fun. And she is like, don't judge her by how she looks, because she's kind of a killer. She's kind of a killer coach.
Billy, if you will, show your face. Do you have any questions for your future employer?
My future employer. Okay. Tony, how's Tony Vitale on the baseball team been looking? I know they had Hofstra as a tough matchup for them, I know, but how have they been looking?
Wow.
Over the weekend, would Darlington Dubar outscore his former team? He got 3 on the weekend. They got 2, so he wins by a point. The Tennessee baseball team, Billy, I think top to bottom, this is Tony's best and most talented team he's had.
Oh, wow.
I'm having Hunter Inslee on the program tomorrow. He just did a media opportunity today. He said the freshman class, it's freaky how good they are. And I hear that from behind the scenes. And I don't know. Tony just has a knack, guys. He just has this thing feels like what it must have been like to watch like a young Nick Saban when he first got to LSU or when he first got that Alabama job. Because this guy just has a feel for what he's doing.
Yeah.
He just really does. I was over there Friday night until the sun went down. And then once the sun went down, I went in. I'm not like Kelly. I didn't walk 8 miles in the snow, and I'm not going to tell you how tough I am. As soon as that sun went in, my old rear end got out of there. At any rate, they are so good. They're so talented. They're so deep. Their bullpen is deep. Their starting pitching, they have an embarrassment of riches there. And I think they'll compete right at the top of college baseball again.
Sure sounds like it. So the Tennessee men are off for the either Tuesday or Wednesday, and they go to A&M on Saturday for what will be an absolute rock fight because it always is when you have to play there. 11 o'clock in the morning, Nashville time, which means that Tony's post game should be in the 1:30 Central Time range, give or take. Tony, if there's a person out there in Middle Tennessee that has not heard your stuff, how do they get involved?
tclub.team. George, in the meantime, we've got the Four Nations Cup, USA and Canada on Thursday night. That thing Saturday night was one of the great sporting events I've seen in a long time. Thursday night, I want to encourage people to check that thing out because it's going to be absolutely, as the kids would say, lit.
Amen. So,
final note about hardcore Barnes is this coach at A&M. First of all, A&M gets on Rick Barnes's nerves, but this coach really does because he has this thing where when his team's defending, he like meanders onto the court. Barnes told his team last year, "Hey, if this guy gets too close to us you see this guy on the court, you're commanded
run him over,
to bump into him." He gets a technical foul.
That's beautiful.
Level. So great.
That's hilarious. Hey, so let me ask one last thing. The Saturday night game, and I got to see the third period of it, did 4.4 million on average. Now tomorrow night, no, let me take that back. Thursday night is on ESPN, not ABC. What do you think it draws?
I think it's going to be the best number hockey's done in a long time. And here's why, George. Because as I've gone about my week, the word of mouth around that thing feels very large.
Yep,
the
sure does.
Shared on social media around it's been very large. You've got sort of a geopolitical conflict going on around it, which makes it feel like the Olympics used to back in the day. Will the people in Boston boo their anthem? All that stuff. You know what I mean? And so it has created something that the NHL feels a whole lot better about their all-star product than the NBA does right now.
Go, Kelly.
Tony, has Big Orange Nation, has UT reached out to you? Are you going to be part of the Big Orange Caravan? I just want to know that.
Yeah, well, what happens is at the Caravan, you got people that come out, official party people. And then maybe this year they're going to have like a black sheep wing and they bring me out. Maybe they have their own pen for me. Maybe they'll come over and feed me and, give me something to drink.
I love it. Hey, behave until next week. Talk to you.
I'm gonna try to not behave, George, and thank you guys. Take care.
Stay inside, man. We don't want anything to happen to you. It's going to snow. Stay inside.
Stay inside.
Bye,
guys. I know we got to go to the break. God only knows where we take it from here. Eventually, this will be 94.9 The Fan. Until then, deal with it. This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458. If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400. We are back. We're told that the Vandy Air Force game, which now, as I look outside, may be played in bright sunshine. All of a sudden, man, in the last hour, the sun's come out where I am, and yet 4 hours from now, we're expecting the storm of the century. 2 to 4 inches of snow in this area. Looks like in the Nashville area, it would start somewhere between 8 and 9 p.m. And Kelly, absolutely stay indoors.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, it is going to be the storm of the century for February. Wow. It's wintertime.
Yes, it is. So, do you get the feeling that the A&M people hate the Texas people and vice versa?
Oh, absolutely. Especially what happened in baseball. Yeah, it's you've talked about it before, George. Texas is kind of the end all be all in the state of Texas. Like, they look down on TCU, they look down on everybody else, and they especially look down on Texas A&M. So there's a lot of animosity there. There's a lot of pent up anger, and now they're in the same conference. And yeah, there's some pent-up hatred there that goes on, and I've been through rivalries like that, and it is when you preach it up like that, when coaches talk about it as much as they talk about it, like when Coach Donnelly used to talk about Eastern Kentucky, I still to this day hate Eastern Kentucky. I don't like anything about Richmond, Kentucky. I hate it, and I can never beat them. I beat them one time, but that's just how rivalries are, and that's the way the A&M Texas deal is.
So that's the big one. That was the big one when you were at middle?
Well, yeah, because it was either us or them winning the conference every year. It was like TSU. I can remember the year that TSU, we played TSU on a Sunday, which I don't know. I forget why we played on a Sunday, but we played at Vanderbilt Stadium, and they had a guy, remember, he was a left-handed quarterback named Darrell Williams, and we could not tackle the guy. And that was the only time we got beat by TSU, which I could not believe. And I can remember after the game, all those guys rolling around saying, "We're going to be champions this year." and they did nothing. Like that was their biggest win. They beat us, and then the next year we went to Hale Stadium and beat the dog out of them. Like we were so pissed off at what they did to us the year before. I mean, we beat the dog out of them at their place. But that's just how rivalries are. But yeah, it was us or Eastern Kentucky every year.
I think in the years to come, now that Texas is in the SEC, I think you're going to see the level of hatred in that one rise, where maybe it doesn't get to Ohio State, Michigan, or Alabama, Auburn.
Close, though.
But it might get to the next tier of schools that hate each other.
Because here's the deal now. I mean, everything's coming down to money, and Texas A&M has got a lot of it. So they're going to be able to hang with Texas. I promise you that. Football, they've got a really good coach. Baseball, they just took the coach, so or they had to get a coach because he left for Texas. So that's going to fuel all that stuff. So
oh my God.
That's where everything is. It's about money, and Texas A&M's got a lot of it.
And what really has gone on over the years, Texas has kind of thumbed its nose, called A&M a cow college. They've gotten in their cheap shots, and it has really pissed off A&M. And you remember the story, my buddy Ross Bjork, when he found out that Texas was about to be put into the SEC, his first comment was something to the effect of, "Over my dead body, they're coming into this league." Well, my gut feeling is that between that comment and the next day, that Sankey may have had a talk with him and said, "Deal with it. It's done."
That's right, because that's a big brand. They brought in two huge brands, Texas and Oklahoma, the best of the Big 12. And when you can get teams like that, I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how mad as an AD you are. Hey, that's going to bring us more coverage. That's going to get us in the Texas television light. That's going to get us in the Oklahoma television light. So it's all about money in today's world. And Greg Sankey was really shrewd in what he did, and that was it was best for SEC. And I don't think it mattered what anybody else thought. If it's going to bring money and it's going to bring more prosperity to the SEC, they're going to do it.
Billy, the scary part of what we're yapping about is I don't think we've seen anywhere near the Oklahoma as it can be. To me, this is Oklahoma light. And, if things continue, they're going to get rid of Brent Venables because they're not going to put up with much more of middle of the road in the SEC. And to be honest, their basketball right now under Porter Moser is kind of middle of the road of the SEC. And Oklahoma, they get it thumbed at them from Texas as well. They don't like Texas any more than A&M does. And I think, in all honesty, we're seeing Oklahoma light. This is not the Boomer Sooner.
Oklahoma's teetering right now. I mean, if this football season doesn't go well, like you said, Venables will be out. Porter Moser, I don't think he'll be lasting much longer there. And Dari Noka, I think it was Saturday night, went on a big rant on the SEC network on their SEC Now post game, which he never does, but he's an Oklahoma guy. And he talked all about how their fans aren't showing up to basketball games. He talked a little bit about baseball, a little bit about football, but that he says he's blaming the fans. He put a lot on the fans that they're not stepping up and showing up to these games. But it's also, their coaches. I don't know. Oklahoma's in a weird spot right now with, and they're in danger of really falling off a cliff.
Which is hard to believe.
Yeah, it's about the product. If the product's no good, it goes back to the saying: if you build it, they will come. But if you don't have a good product on the court or on the gridiron, people are going to stop. They're going to start losing interest.
You're right. Yeah. So, Billy, where are we in the Vandy Air Force baseball game?
Just went final. Vandy beats Air Force 5-2. I did get word that they'll have some post-game coverage, so I'll keep you guys updated on when we'll be going on the air.
Okay, here's what we're going to do. We'll go to the break, then we'll go stat of the day, and then we got a guest for you that's going to get your attention. The godfather of bracketology, Joe Lenardi, will join us after the break. Billy, I'll sort of hightail it at that point to the car and rejoin you guys by way of phone.
Got it.
Okay. Eventually, this will be 94.9, The Fan.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket.
The Predators win!
Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. We're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
This is the most anticipated March Madness that we have had in a long time. There's going to be some great basketball, and the George Plaster Show has it all covered. Whether we take our show to your business or you simply endorse things like March Madness scoreboard updates or other features, we've got it all covered. If you want to be part of a big March Madness, simply email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We can fit all of your needs, and we'll find out what your budget will allow.
.403 is the time here on the George Plaster Show. It's time now for Stat of the Day, brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. We've got Joe Lenardi coming up. But first, we've got a good question today, and it's brought to you by Apple Collision Centers. As I said, you can find them in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin, or give them a call, 615-754-9800. Also, applecollisioncenters.com. All right, here's what we've got today. Over the weekend, Tom Izzo surpassed Bob Knight for the most career Big Ten wins. Which Hall of Fame coach is now third on that list?
Okay, we need to, Kelly, we need to ramp up our stuff here because in recent weeks, we've gotten shredded.
Yes.
So let's think through some of the schools in the Big Ten. Okay, we'll eliminate Indiana and we'll eliminate Michigan State. At Michigan, I don't think John Beilein had enough wins at that school to be third on the list. I do think that at Purdue, it could be Gene Cady, also a former Western Kentucky coach.
That's correct.
Are you with me that it's Cady?
I'm thinking it's Gene Cady. It's got to be, does it not?
Doesn't have to be. It could be Lou Henson at Illinois.
At Illinois, that's correct.
At Illinois.
I don't think so, though.
I don't think so either. I don't think it's McCaffrey at Iowa. I'm just trying to think. Nobody at Northwestern. Nobody at Minnesota. Billy, it's either Gene Cady or Lou Henson.
Well, you're in luck. It's Gene Cady.
Nice, George. Nice.
Pulled that one out of our little, you know what?
That was nice.
Gene Katie, after he left Purdue, a lot of people forget he spent a year or two as an assistant coach at St. John's.
Oh, wow. I did not know that.
Yeah.
Did
Up
really?
into his late 70s or early 80s. Tell you who loves Gene Katie, Kevin Stallings.
Oh, wow. I got to meet him. I had a function one night that he and his wife were there, and I got to meet him. Pretty cool.
Brilliant basketball coach. In the picture that Billy has up of the legendary Bobby Knight and Gene Katie, man, when Purdue and Indiana used to play, when those two were coaching, they went to war.
Yeah, street fight.
Big time. Okay, officially, we welcome all of you into the 4 o'clock hour. Billy, would I be right? We're not yet on radio.
Not yet, no.
Okay. We're going to go ahead and run the interview unless you think we ought to push back on it.
No, I think it's fine. We should be going on the air very shortly. So,
would you rather go into a 4-corner stall and then let the radio audience hear it?
I say so.
Yeah, we can stall around a little bit.
These are important executive decisions. You all yap. I will get in the car and then I will rejoin you. How about that?
Okay. That'd be good.
That'll be exciting.
That's something putting a little pressure on us. Thank you.
Yeah. And Billy, next time, if Kelly and Tony need to, exchange messages, you've got to do better.
Did you already have his number, Kelly?
I do have his number. I don't even know what he's talking about. I have no clue. I got his number. I text him. He's text me back.
Major controversy. Okay,
he's
y'all
having
talk
some dementia problems.
No, y'all talk something intelligent until I get on the phone.
Right.
See ya.
So Kelly, we a lot of what we talked about with Joe Lenardi was, Vandy, of course, and he said that their schedule, because they're in the SEC, their schedule has helped them a lot. But he also said their wins, like they've beaten.
Oh yeah.
See, they've beaten Kentucky.
Yeah.
And it's about the schedule and who you're playing. And, even what you like Vandy lost to Tennessee over the weekend and they moved up in the net rankings. That's kind of what happens. You can lose, but as long as you're playing these good teams, you'll either stay there. You're not going to drop back. You might even move up a couple of times. But, he was pretty positive. Obviously, they still need a few wins, but that's a lot of what we got into with him. And basically he said, they've shown they can beat really good teams. Tennessee's a 2 seed right now. Kentucky, I think, is a 3. And he said that's the most impressive thing with them right now, even though they still have more work to do.
This has got to be an exciting time for guys like yourself, George, an alumni. You're very heavily involved with Vanderbilt, whatever they do. It's an exciting time because we've talked about it over the years. When Stackhouse was here, there was it was apathy about the program. Nobody cared. Nobody showed up. I don't think the guys bought into what he was doing, but obviously George doing his background on Mark Byington before he came here, and just coming from James Madison, man, I was the Kurt Cignetti, man. I watched him coach really good because my son was at Troy, and then they get Mark Byington from the same place. So obviously somebody at James Madison knows what they're doing. But when you get a guy you think that you've got a guy, you do your research if you're Candace Lee, you think you've got the guy, but then when he comes in and he shows up and he works like he works, and he's kind of like Mark Pope. He didn't have much of a team either when he got here. Everybody left, and for him to be able to do what he's done in such a short period of time, and now he's got excitement back to Vanderbilt. It doesn't take long, Billy, as you see. It doesn't take long for a guy to come in, and I've told you, that's what fans want. Fans want a team that they can grow with, which is hard to do now, obviously, in transfer portal years and NIL stuff. But they want a team that's going to go out there and they're going to fight each and every game. And I think that's what you've got with Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt. Like, they had the number 5 team in the country down 16 at their place the other day, and they couldn't hold on to it. UT got hot at the end of the game or the second half. They played so much different than they did in the first half, but they just couldn't hold the lead. But like you said, Vandy is a good place, at a good place right now. I just hope that they have the money, because people are going to come after Mark Byington. That's just the name of the business. Now he's done it at the Power 4 level. They know that he can coach. They know what he can do. The Virginia deal is kind of a pull for me, because I'm just thinking he's from there.
Yeah.
They've won a national championship. I don't know. I don't know what your goals are as a coach, but like, they're going to have to buck up some money. They're going to have to find something to keep him, because he's going to get a lot of interest from some schools around the country.
Yeah, and I think we're just about ready to hop on the air, get this Joe Lunardi interview going. But we do have a comment on YouTube from Trace. He says, "I listened to the show on 2 times speed, so Kelly, so he'll speed it up to catch up because he falls behind a little bit." He says, "As soon as I get back live, Kelly sounds like he's drunk."
I'm not drunk, dog. I promise you that. Now, I might be a
That's
little
pretty funny.
heavily sedated on some stuff, man, with my neck, but I'm good. I'm not drunk.
That's funny. I've done that with stuff too before, where I'll speed it up like a podcast or a show or something, and it sound you go normal speed. It's like, man, this is slow now. But no, I think we are just about ready. I'm going to go ahead and get this Joe Lunardi interview going. George and I recorded this earlier today. We got a little over 10 minutes with him, but it was really good. Talked about where Vanderbilt stands in the bubble, how good the SEC is this season. And I'm going to send it over to our interview with Joe Lunardi.
Into the show, this is a real pleasure to talk to the man who, I mean, let's just say it, created bracketology. Joe Lunardi is with us. Joe, first of all, I got to ask, how did this start?
Well, George, a lot of people don't know this, but, I was the starting power forward on my high school team, dunking on people and slamming it and knocking guys around and fouling out. No, I mean, look, I'm 5'5.5" on a good day. I can, touch the rim if I get one of those ladders, and I can't go to my left. So, it certainly wasn't through any on-court accolades, but like a lot of us who love basketball, who love college basketball, I kind of came up on the media side, on the print side, on the newspaper side, in and around Philadelphia. And I went to college in Philadelphia, and that was at a time and a place where all the local schools in the Philadelphia Big Five played in the same building, the Palestra. And we were talking about that off camera. So if you were a little cub reporter, sports editor type with a little notebook and a pen, you got a pass to the Palestra, a media pass. And, I was going to double headers starting first semester freshman year. And, Notre Dame came in and Georgetown came in and Duke came in and Syracuse came in and Carolina came in, et cetera, et cetera. And, to play the local schools. And that was like majoring in college basketball. And of course, I wasn't smart enough to know that then, but I'm certainly appreciative of it now, and all the people that I met and the coaches that I met, and probably more media and AD types who kind of took me under their wing and maybe saw that how's this? I was a little different in how I viewed things. And then, my junior year at St. Joe's, we had a run to the Elite Eight. This is 1981. Beat the number 1 team in the country, DePaul, along the way. And I kind of fell in love with the bracket and how it was put together. And, I guess it just never stopped. And then a guy from your state, Al Gore, was nice enough to invent the internet. And that allowed people like me to have a pretty wide audience.
Joe, was there somebody at ESPN that you had to go to and say, hey, here's what I've got. You all need to think about using this?
Yeah, I think it was maybe indirectly Chris Wallace, late of Blue Ribbon, and now I think still with the Grizzlies in the NBA. And he hired me to Blue Ribbon, gosh, it's 35 years ago now. And back in those earlier days of ESPN, early to mid 90s, Chris was on the desk of studio wraps during championship week because they needed somebody who knew the runner-up in the Sun Belt or the what the Big Sky and all that. And Chris got me a meeting with some folks. I want to say it was December of 95 on the .com side. And that led to the first bracket projections being run on ESPN.com that February and March. And, lo and behold, they were pretty popular because no one was doing it. And after a few years of that, ESPN News was born. There was a guy named Mark Preisler who went on to run the NHL Network, and another guy named Mike McQuaid, who's now the king of all content at ESPN. And they made the mistake of putting me on TV back in the early 2000s and, survived that professionally. And I guess I didn't screw up badly enough. And, they get all the credit for kind of putting their faith in a guy who can't coach or play a lick, but I'd like to think understands the tournament postseason process, to an unhealthy degree, and has been able to, convey that with a smile in layman's language for now pushing 30 years.
Joe, you got to promise me that well after the season is over and you get out of that cave, that you
it's
and
a
I
bunker.
get,
it's a bunker.
That you and I get back together and just share our love of old arenas one day on the air. But let me ask you specifically about Vandy, because they're going through this god-awful stretch of a schedule where you could see this hurricane developing about 3 weeks ago. And yet I notice as of this morning, not only do you still have them in, but it looks like you're rewarding the schedule of, playing Auburn, playing Tennessee. Talk to me about how you decide, how far do you go with that?
Yeah, Vandy, it is in. I think on my board this morning, they went from 40th to 41st because of results elsewhere on Monday. And that little piece of it can be pretty fluid, George, but that would be in what we call the last four buys group. And that means essentially they're just ahead of the group that goes to Dayton. So, in, and if you want to call it safely in because there's a cushion of at least 4 teams below them. Yes. But I mean, like a lot of teams, they're probably one bad week or turned ankle away from disaster. Because there's so many teams competing for those few spots. And I don't know that it's the schedule that we're rewarding as much as the wins that have come from that schedule. And, certainly if our light just decided to go out, I guess we didn't pay the electric bill here in Philly.
A tough life.
But yeah, it's brutal. I'm a liberal arts grad. It's a miracle when I push these buttons to come on. I don't launch the space shuttle or something, but they're going to have to find a way to win 2, 3, 4 more games here, including the SEC tournament. I think, those are equal opportunities, if you will, particularly in the early rounds. And if I had to bet a mortgage payment, I think they'll make it. But the simple fact that they're in their conversation, right? They were picked last, weren't they?
Yes.
And, Mark's done a great job. They've stormed the court, a couple times. I always joke when I see that at Vandy, like, do they storm the court from the opposite direction? Is it a 90-degree court storm because of the way the Memorial Hall is configured? But that it's a great story, and certainly if they make it, they will have ridden the extraordinary coattails of this year's SEC to a large degree. But in enough of the games, you still kind of have to score more points than the other team. So it will be to their credit.
Billy, if you can squeeze one question in, we got to respect that this man's busy.
Yeah, Joe, really appreciate you hopping on. I want to ask about the SEC. Is this the best you've ever seen this conference? And if there is a conference that you might have seen that has been better than this SEC, which one is it?
It might be the best I've seen any conference, but, I'm old enough to remember the first year of tournament expansion to 64 in 1985, when there were 3 Big East teams, Georgetown, St. John's, and Villanova, in the Final Four. And 2 of the teams, Georgetown and St. John's, traded 1 and 2 for most of the season, kind of like Auburn and Alabama right now. And they ended up playing 4 times, including in the Final Four. And yet neither of them is the one that won the national championship. It was Villanova in that, monumental upset, which kind of made the format valid back in 1985. I'm going to take a wild guess, Billy, that you weren't, alive then. And we'll try not to hold that against you, will we, George? But,
yes, we will.
and there were, look, there were days when the ACC was 7, 8, 9 teams, and they were playing double round robins to the death of some teams. And the Carolina State, Wake, and Duke foursome would play in a Big Four tournament in December before league play even started. I vaguely remember that and how intense it was. And I don't know that it can be quite as intense when you've got, in this case, a 16-team league, or now in the Big Ten and ACC, an 18-team league. And most of the teams only play once, right? It's just they can't play more than that and still finish the season like before July. So, yeah, it's going to have a different feel. But if not for the fact that it would ruin the SEC tournament, I say we just take the whole South region and make that the SEC tournament, 16 teams. And then my workload would automatically be cut by 25%, and I get 25% more sleep. And, all in favor, say aye.
Aye. So when you get out of that bunker sometime in April or May after the whole thing's over,
it'll be before that, George.
Promise me that you will come back on.
Deal.
We'll get into old arenas.
I might be on the first tee, but you can get me.
Hey, thank you so much.
You bet.
Joe Lunardi. Well said. Joe Lunardi. He is the king of bracketology, and rightfully so. We'll go to the break. You're listening to 94.9 The Fan.
As we step into the new year, there's nothing more important than family and safety. If a car wreck or big truck accident turns your world upside down, Bart Durham Injury Law is here to help. We're local, we're experienced, and we're ready to fight for what you deserve. Call us anytime at 615-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
Over the years, more men have started to seek help for hormone deficiencies and imbalances, and Dr. Jeffrey Lodge and wife Daphne, along with their experienced staff, give men the treatment required to improve their quality of life, improve your immune system, energy level, cognitive function, and more. There's no better time to achieve a healthy lifestyle. What are you waiting for? Give Cool Springs MD a call today for an appointment at 615-486-3458 or visit the website coolspringsmd.com. If you are paying too much for your health insurance, you know what? You need to contact the folks at Pancoast Benefits. Pancoast works with businesses and individuals to tackle the high cost of health insurance. Whether you're a business owner, large or small, self-employed, between jobs, or over the age of 65 and in need of a Medicare plan, Pancoast can help. They make understanding your benefits less difficult and more personal. So check them out today, pancoastbenefits.com, or call them at 615-292-3400. Here's Officer Garen Hoskins for the Metro Nashville Police Department.
The Metro Nashville Police Department is on the forefront of policing in this century, and I'm glad I'm a part of it. I'm glad I get to find other good officers, other future good officers. And if you're watching today, or you yourself or someone you happen to know is interested, join MNPD.com. Feel free to reach out to us because we need good officers, and it's a great city to work for.
For over 35 years, Wilson Bank & Trust has been committed to providing customized banking solutions to help individuals, families, and businesses in Tennessee achieve their goals. As your full-service community bank, we are proud to offer loans with competitive rates, local decision-making, and fast, friendly service from our experienced lenders. No matter where you are on your financial journey, Wilson Bank & Trust is ready to help you take the next step. Visit your nearest Wilson Bank & Trust office or online at wilsonbank.com to get started today. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
1-5-242-9000. Really wishing you a safe and happy 2025 from Bart Durham Injury Law.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
We are back on 94.9 The Fan. I think most of that interview was able to be heard by the radio listeners, so that's good news. I know George is with us. George, are you wanting to open up these phone lines?
Yeah, here in just a couple of minutes, Billy. I'll also say this because there are probably some people that didn't get a chance to hear the whole interview with Joe Lunardi. We will rerun that interview at some point later in the week. But I'll also tell you that the best stuff we never taped. The best stuff was absolutely him and I going at it about old arenas before we ever turned on the tape to do the interview. He and I are both kind of what I'd call old arena junkies. Places that I've done games that I loved. Freedom Hall in Louisville, where Kelly will be here in about a week. The Palestra in Philly, which is in Joe Lunardi's hometown. And Billy, you got to sit there and listen to it. I've never met Joe Lunardi in my life, and it was like we'd known each other for 30 years.
Yeah, I don't think you've ever talked to him. I'm sure maybe you've done an interview with them before, but I mean, they hopped on, Kelly, and it was Palestra. It was the Spectrum, which Lunardi revealed doesn't exist anymore. And then there was another one, the Cincinnati Garden. Did you mention that one, George?
The old Cincinnati Garden was a dump. And before the University of Cincinnati moved into the Shoemaker Center, back in the 80s, they played in the Cincinnati Garden. And it was when I was at Memphis State, and it's how I met Marty Brenneman. Marty Brenneman was doing the TV of the game that night, there was not another soul in the arena. It was cold, drafty. It felt like they had no heat in the building. And I finally got the nerve to go up to Marty Brenneman and introduce myself. And I told him, I said, I've been listening to you for the last 15 years on WLW out of Cincinnati. And that just crushed him. He's like, you had to say that. But it was really fun talking to Joe Lunardi. And when we get him back on where he's not in a, I got to go do another one in 15 minutes, y'all are really going to enjoy him.
What was y'all's consensus on the best place to watch a college basketball game?
Kelly, I don't know if there's one, but we got, things like the Palestra in Philly, Madison Square Garden in New York. I got a chance to do 2 games there in the late 80s, and I just thought that was awesome. The one I threw at him was the old Kiel Center in St. Louis, which was about a 2,000-seat arena, and my Memphis State team played there. And I remember when I walked in, I was like, oh, my God, this is Hoosiers written all over again. The other place that reminded me of Hoosiers was SIU, Southern Illinois' gym. Had a lot of bit of that. Memorial Gym's another one like that that's got kind of an old flair to it. 2 places that I have not gotten to do a game that I would love to go to: Mackey Arena on the campus at Purdue and Assembly Hall at Indiana. Assembly Hall, I've got to get to. I got to see that place.
Yeah, I would love in Indiana. Like that looks like unlike any other, and it kind of looks like Memorial Gym and would feel like a little bit Memorial Gym.
Right.
But man, there's
it goes straight up. It looks like the people at the top are on, Pluto.
Yes. Yeah. I wonder how many fans that thing looks like. It's pretty big. My daughter was hurt last year. They had to play up there, but she got to go, and she was like, this place is really cool, Dad. So I'm sure, George, if you're interested in going, you need to go, because she said that was a really cool place to play basketball.
Yeah, it seats about 18. And even, Kelly, even in the downturn right now of Indiana basketball, since Bobby Knight, got fired at Indiana, it has not, for the most part, been what it used to be. But they still pack them in there. I think there's, I would put Kentucky and Indiana as the 2 most rabid fan bases. I know the Duke people would argue it, but I just think there's a level of passion around Kentucky and Indiana basketball that nobody can match.
Yeah. We do have a comment from Cameron on Twitter. This was during the Lunardi interview. He asks, should Vandy feel good at 7-11 in league play? I know we've talked about them getting the 8 league wins and they'll feel good. I don't think they should feel good at 7-11, but you're still alive. And Lunardi, I thought that was interesting, George. Lunardi mentioned how the SEC tournament is still a place where they can get wins and they'll count for them for their benefit, which I thought was interesting. And in the past, the SEC tournament hasn't really mattered. So at 7-11, they're teetering. You need another big win, but I don't think they'll feel good at 7-11, but they'll still be alive.
The 7-11 started with a comment that my buddy Dane Bradshaw made on an SEC telecast. Gosh, this was way back in December. And I remember when he said it, I was like, okay, I wonder what team that might fall on. Well, little did I know at the time that it could be Vandy. It could also be Oklahoma or Texas. I guess Georgia feels like they've kind of fallen beyond that. But whatever the case, 7-11 feels like a test case that no league has ever gone to before, that no team, one of the Power Fives, has ever gotten in that I'm aware of with 11 conference losses. But the thing that's really interesting, if you look at Vandy, he really has not dropped them hardly at all with the loss to Auburn and the loss to Tennessee. And what he's basically saying is, I'm not going to penalize people when they're playing that level of competition. Now, if they had gotten ripped in either one of those games, really ripped into beaten by 20, 25, that might be a different story. But, you know, in particular in the Tennessee game where they played it almost right to the wire, he's really not holding that against them at all.
Trace on YouTube asks, does George know about the original plans to put Memorial Gym off the south end zone of the football stadium at Vanderbilt? Did you hear that, George?
Yeah, I don't. To be honest, I've never heard. Listen, Billy, there was a plan at one point in 1988, and everybody involved in it will deny it, and they can deny it till hell freezes over. I actually saw the plans for it, where they were going to expand Dudley Field to 53,000. Well, upon further review, it was a good thing they didn't do that because it wasn't necessary. But what was going on back then that led to it was that Watson Brown had a team that was really competitive, and they sold like 26,000 season tickets. And so this whole let's expand the football stadium got into it. But say that thing again. I'm not sure I got quite what he was saying there.
Well, he just added that there were renderings in the 1947 yearbook, Vanderbilt yearbook, and he says he's asking if you knew about the original plans to put Memorial Gym off of the south end zone, so not the north end zone where they have the new facility now, but off of the south end zone. I didn't know that, and it sounds like you didn't
really,
either.
I'd never heard that. I'll say this: when C.M. Newton was the coach, I ended up doing his TV show, which might have been one of the worst TV show, coaches' TV shows of all time. Kelly, I looked scared to death. You talk about stiff. Oh my God. But in that deal, we did a segment, a feature in one of the shows where we went through the bowels of Memorial Gym. A lot of people forget there was a swimming pool in the back of Memorial Gym, where now part of the baseball facility of Tim Corbin's is. The thing was built in 1952, and Foster and Creighton was the company that built it. And Wilbur Creighton did the interview with us and took us into places in that gym that I'm not sure how many people even know exist.
That's crazy. I did not know about the swimming pool. All right, yeah. What do you say? What do you say we open up these phone lines?
Well, you sell them.
All right.
You sell them on it. Give them the phone number, and I'll hold you responsible.
All right, I'm responsible. I need 3 red-blooded Americans to call in right now. 615-553.
We haven't used red-blooded Americans in a while.
No, we haven't. But here's the number, 615-553-0933. Or you've got the chat room as well. We've got a few in there already, but we need more. We're going to open it up for the next 10, 15 minutes. Call in right now, 615-553-0933. This is 94.9 The Fan.
This is the most anticipated March Madness that we have had in a long time. There's going to be some great basketball, and the George Plaster Show has it all covered. Whether we take our show to your business or you simply endorse things like March Madness scoreboard updates or other features, we've got it all covered. If you want to be part of a big March Madness, simply email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We can fit all of your needs, and we'll find out what your budget will allow. This is my buddy Stan Harrison from Apple Collision Centers. Recently, you've been talking to me about companies that have a fleet of trucks, and they're always in need of repairs.
That's right, George. We understand that nobody likes to deal with the auto body repair process. We try to simplify that at our 3 convenient locations. We work with all major insurance companies. We help to ease the stress of the auto body repair process. We're located in Old Hickory, Hendersonville, and Gallatin. If you need our services, please stop by and see us.
And how convenient that we have that in the background. Now, seriously, these are good folks. They do really good work. Give them a holler. It's easy to say good things about the folks at Strike and Spare Family Fun Centers. Number one, I trust them with something that's near and dear to me, the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night. But more importantly, I see the fun people have. They enjoy the bowling, they enjoy the camaraderie, and you will too. Come by any of their locations and get ready to have some fun.
As the trusted premier custom home builder in Middle Tennessee, Donnelly Timmons has over 20 years of experience in the industry. Whether you're looking to build your dream home or renovate your current home, their team will ensure that every client and every remodel is unique, luxurious, and completed on time within budget. Founders Dustin Timmons and Joey Donnelly have over 25 years of construction experience in the Nashville area. Together, they have completed projects in Forest Hills, Oak Hill, Green Hills, Franklin, and Brentwood. Dustin and Joey believe that communication is the most important aspect of all construction projects. Therefore, they personally manage each project themselves and are involved in job site activities on a daily basis. Their commitment to quality and integrity has earned them an outstanding reputation among their clients. Contact them to set an appointment for a free consultation or to view some of their completed projects. Give them a call at 615-456-7983 or log on to DonnellyTimmons.com.
Here. You thought you were on your way. Your sports live here.
On ESPN 94.9.
And the Game Nashville Sports Network. It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
We are back and take your phone calls right now, as well as your comments and questions in the chat room. We've got George on by phone. He is on the go. We've got Kelly with us from Murfreesboro, taking you home all the way down to George's Bet of the Day, but taking his final segment to take your phone calls. We're going to open it up with Tony in Nolensville. Tony, welcome in.
Good afternoon, guys. Everybody's good talking to you again. I'm going to go ahead and get right to it, George. I tell you what, a lot of people don't remember also, and Billy, you'll love this, the left field of the baseballs, George, remember the hill that a left fielder would have to go up the hill to catch a fly?
Yeah, it was an incline. Yeah, it was an incline, a little bit like Sulphur Dell.
Oh, Sulphur Dell, right. And but you used to be, Billy, if you know where you turn to go, where the parking is underneath the stands in the outfield, right there where you turn into right field, that's the road you turn into that you drove down to go to the swimming pool area. It was really,
oh, wow.
Yeah. Well, George, we could talk about some old things out there and how Willie, Donnie, and George, I think y'all used to be on top of the third base dugout, doing the broadcast. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy.
We did the games there one year and absolutely froze.
There was some cold games there, and we can go on and on about this. Some good times, guys. I know you had Joe Lenardi on there. This weekend, I also saw the projections of from CBS Sports. Jerry Palm. He has the 12 teams going in from the SEC, and he had Auburn, Alabama, and I think Florida projected number 1 seeds. Tennessee was a number 2. They were in I believe the East region along with Arkansas. Arkansas was going to have to play in the Dayton. And in the Midwest, where Bama was a number 1 seed, they had Vandy as a 10 seed playing Louisville, and also had Missouri in that same region. And believe it or not, with Lipscomb was going to be a 14 seed in his projections that come out this weekend. And of course, we all know they'll fluctuate and go up and down and change. But that was his early projection right there. And Barry Palm off of CBS Sports. You familiar with him, George?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Billy, how long, if you remember, how long before the CBS Sports guys started doing it after Lenardi first started putting all that stuff out?
That's a good question, because like Lenardi said, he was the only one doing it. But I'm not really sure when Palm started doing it. Let's see. His breakthrough, it looks like, came in 1998, the first year of the BCS system. As he did years earlier with the RPI, he worked to replicate the formula and forecast changes based on whatever scenarios might unfold. So doesn't look like too long after Lenardi, Jerry Palm popped up. But speaking of the bracketology and the minute-by-minute update, it seems like every day, that's already changed, Tony. So Vandy is a 10 seed in the West region in the latest Palm bracketology, playing against 7-seeded Memphis. So how about that? How about that matchup?
Yeah.
Lipscomb.
That'll be an interesting matchup. But like you say, it's going to change, and we don't know. And Billy, I touched on it the other day, and what you just said. The games that the tournament is going to still affect a lot of the play out of how who's going to be bracketed, because you're going to have favorites getting upset, and you're going to have some no names getting hot and winning throughout a tournament. So much to still be decided. And one thing Vanderbilt's got to do before they get to all of that, they need to find out and get a cure for these second half collapses. It's become too obvious and too often. They have got to stop these second half collapses. And one thing I wanted to touch on the other day, last week, and didn't get a chance to call in. Kelly, you had touched on the fact of changing gears here. The Titans bringing in Aaron Rodgers. It's crazy. I wasn't on board with it or nothing. Not sure I still am. But I just got to simply thinking, what if you bring him in here? He's better than what we've got. So even if he lost, you're still at that same point. I think he'd sell tickets. He's been a proven winner in a lot of places. I know he's a headache and a goofball sometimes. But at the same time, the worst case, what if he won some games? So, and just sign him to a 1-year deal if that happened. I don't think it's going to happen, but it is some food for thought right there. Just some reasons why it might be if that did happen. Guys, I'm going to get off, let someone else talk. Enjoyed the show as always. And I don't know where Basilio was today, but he was still good. Talk to you.
Thanks, Tony.
Thanks, Tony.
Let's go to Clay in Nashville. Clay, what's going on?
Hey guys, how y'all doing today?
Good.
I'll be pretty brief. because I know we're kind of up against it. We've got to get to the bet of the day for George. Appreciate y'all with a changing schedule because of baseball. Appreciate y'all getting in what you can, because I always enjoy listening to you. There's a lot going on around this game tomorrow night as far as the weather, too. I'm sure the team won't have any problem getting up there tonight. But the weather, and I just talked to somebody in Lexington not long ago, and they're expecting 3 to 6 inches in Lexington tonight. So I just wonder if once they get the game played, if the team will have any issues getting out of there. But I echo what Tony says. We just got to find a fix to this second half stuff. I mean, I didn't realize till after the game on Saturday that Ziegler had no points in the first half and 22 in the second half. And, down the stretch of a game, you just can't allow an opponent to take over a game like that. So whatever it is, whether it's a couple buckets from A.J. Hogard, he was 3 for 12, or whether it's, getting gassed or, breakdowns on defense, whatever it is, Vandy's just got to find a way to, anchor down and get this thing licked and come up with a big win, because they need one more signature win, I think, and that would make it that much easier to get to 8, and maybe they wouldn't have to worry about anything going into the tournament.
Clay, the crazy part of this, if you think back a year ago right now, Stackhouse's team went up there and died like total dogs, got beat by 35. And now we're talking about, they've got to find a way to finish when they lose to, either a low 1 seed or a very high 2 seed by 5. I mean, what a difference a year makes. And you're right. How they try to fight through what's been going on, I don't know, other than, I'll throw this out here. After the Kentucky game, not that there are any cupcakes, but it's Ole Miss at A&M, home against Missouri, home against Arkansas, and close at Georgia. So it gets at least a little more tolerable for them. God knows they need that.
Yeah, they do. If they could just win, at least 2 of those 3 at home, or perhaps all 3, they've been good in Memorial Gym. I think they're 13-2 this year, and Memorial does seem to be, kind of coming back to life with a pretty good crowd. So hopefully that happens. And I just would love to see them pick off another win on the road, because, it's a different deal when you're playing away from your home court, even in an NCAA tournament, where it's more like a neutral site. And I just want to see this season finish off, the way it should, because Coach Byington has done a fabulous job, and I think I'd love to see these kids rewarded, get to play in the tournament.
And the thing is, too,
Thanks, Clay.
Thanks.
Appreciate it, Clay. Thing is, too, George, before we wrap it up, Kelly, they could beat anybody on their schedule. They could also lose to anybody on their schedule here coming up. There's not a game where you go, oh man, this is a game they should win because they're better than the other team. No, a lot of these games, they're going to be underdogs. Maybe Ole Miss, they're a slight favorite, but it's going to come down to the wire here, and we'll see what happens. But of course, they got Kentucky tomorrow night in Lexington. Coming up, Bet of the Day, brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Going to take one final break, and we'll see where George is going tonight. Keep it right here on 94.9 The Fan.
Where can you see a saber-toothed tiger rappel from the rafters? How about a catfish fly? The biggest stars in Music City. Not to mention hockey's hottest ticket.
The Predators win!
Only in Smashville. See your Nashville Predators all season long at Bridgestone Arena. Single game tickets are on sale now at NashvillePredators.com. Let's go, Preds!
Hit After Hit has become the baseball store in Tennessee. They have over 1,000 different models of gloves and over 1,500 wood bats. They also have several Iron Mike pitching machines as well as a Hit Tracks machine. If they don't have it, you probably don't need it. we're proud to call Hit After Hit the official shirt provider of the Plaster and Friends Celebrity Bowling Night.
The George Plaster Show gets advertisers the results they're looking for. For example, here's Metro Nashville police officer Garen Hoskins.
You hear me all the time on the show talk about, changes in career and people looking to serve their community and get into law enforcement and join a great department. And I just so happened to meet an individual who heard my segment on your show and has already applied, has come from multiple different career paths and has always had this dream. And we're very glad to have him. And that's just going to be the start of many.
If you want to be part of the Plaster Show advertising family, it's simple. Just email me, plastergeorge@gmail.com. Again, plastergeorge@gmail.com. We will fit your budget and your needs.
The bowling night.
It's the George Plaster Show. Your sports live here on 94.9 The Fan.
Final segment on a Tuesday here in Nashville. It is cold, and it's not going to get any better. Speaking of Lexington, it's 23 degrees up there. Hopefully Vandy's traveling goes well as they play tomorrow night. First, before we wrap it up, it's Bet of the Day brought to you by Bart Durham Injury Law. Got a few SEC games tonight. Lipscomb, big game for the Bisons at Eastern Kentucky. We'll see where George is going. First, take a look at what happened last night, and it was a loss with K-State. They did not cover the 2 against Utah, George.
No, they lost by 5. It was nip and tuck until the end, and like a lot of these conference games, it comes down to free throws late, and you either make a play near the end or you don't. Billy, I got 2 picks tonight. The first one I feel really good about. I'm taking BYU at home -3 against what I think is a very overrated Kansas team. Kansas got beat all to you-know-what Saturday at Utah. And if they think it's going to be any easier at BYU, it won't be, because they'll put about 20,000 people in that Marriott Center, and they make a ton of noise. That's an 8 o'clock game tonight. And if you want to see a good college game, BYU Kansas ought to be that. The other game that I'm going to take is in the SEC. A&M is a 2.5-point dog at Mississippi State. I can't figure Mississippi State out. I think they have sort of turn it on, turn it off disease. And it seems like they saved their best stuff for Ole Miss, who they just beat the snot out of Saturday in Oxford. But they don't play that way every night. You know, they gave Vanderbilt a really tough time and beat them pretty good here back early in January. But when I look at A&M, I just see a mentally tough team that really has no peaks and valleys. You pretty much know what you're getting every night with A&M. You're going to get a dose of Wade Taylor, who might be the most underrated player in the SEC. I'm taking the Aggies. I think they win outright in Starkville.
Greatest thing is when Basilio talks about the coach for Texas A&M and trying to run him over if you're a Rick Barnes player, if he's out on the court. That's awesome.
Well, we'll be seeing that on Saturday. Yeah, we'll see it on Saturday, 11 a.m., Tennessee and Texas A&M. That'll do it for us on 94.9. George, thanks for calling in on the phone. Kelly, have a good rest of your evening.
See you, brother.
We'll see y'all tomorrow.
Stay warm.